yes, the technology is important, yes, it'll be used, but exactly yet what the best use cases are at this moment is really hard to judge.
So, welcome Christopher Brewster from TNO. We're here in Amsterdam, the hub for blockchain development and food systems. We're here to investigate how blockchain can help make our food systems more integer. And you're going to explain us, what is TNO?
TNO is a major applied research laboratory, part funded by the Dutch government. Its history goes back to the 1930s. It does research in lots of different applied areas, ranging from transport to embedded systems, to child psychology, to human-computer interfaces. I am part of a large ICT unit, part of the data science group, and we have, for the past year and a half, getting on for 2 years now, been getting our hands quite dirty with blockchains. I'm part of a growing group of researchers in TNO. We are doing a number of different projects. We did initially internal projects, and now we have a number of externally funded projects. The most important one being the Techrocktron blockchain project, funded by the region of Limburg and a number of companies.
Right. So this is Southern Holland.
This is Southern Holland. With regard to the application areas, we're doing things to do with insurance, with hospitals, with various large companies trying to build systems to get different blockchains to work with each other. So perhaps the most important, most interesting work we've been doing is in 2 areas. One is something called self-sovereign identity. We've been developing, together with other actors in this space, identity solutions that sit on the blockchain.
Very fundamental, right? Identity is the start of everything.
Very important for individuals, very important for companies, very important for
transactions.
Accreditation of various purposes.
Right, yeah.
The other area a significant project has been in what's called consortium blockchain. When you get different blockchains from different organizations, how are they going to interoperate? How are they going to talk to each other? And this raises all kinds of issues to do with business models, governance. So we've got quite a range of groups in TNO looking at things, everything from business model governance, strategy, policy, the technical details. We've written a number of proof of concepts. Most interestingly, for the purposes of this conversation, we worked with Wageningen last year on a small project funded by the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs, now Ministry of Agriculture, to develop a proof of concept for the table grape supply chain. So table grapes coming from South Africa to the Netherlands.
Right. So it's quite a lot of things that you do, huh? And in a way, I think you're trying to forward the technology and forward the thinking of private companies about the technology.
Well, our role strategically within the Netherlands is to sit between pure academic research, typically in the universities, the business needs of commercial companies, and government policy. So our role is to transfer technology to business, to advise government when it needs to change regulations, and to provide an independent view on, in this case, technological developments. So blockchain having exploded in interest in the last
it has. It
2 to 3 years. Our interest is, yes, to push the technology forward, but also to provide a reasoned assessment where the technology is most useful and where it's perhaps a little bit overhyped.
Okay, so then from this independent point of view, if we look at the future, 2018, where do you think, what is the key message that you can give our network in terms of a critical thought?
there's an explosion of interest, not just in blockchain, but in application of blockchain technologies to the food system. So there are lots of different startups looking at different aspects of the food system,
Right, yeah.
from precision farming through to the supply chain, community-supported agriculture, agricultural development, supporting farmers in developing countries. All kinds of different use cases are being looked at. In my opinion, this is a very exciting area to be in. It's a very interesting technology, but I suspect that at the end of the day, it's an open question how much of these startups and these big companies also that are involved in this will use blockchain technology in and of itself, or whether blockchain will just be a small part of a bigger
stack of
technologies.
There we go, yeah.
And in that sense, blockchain for me is exciting, not just technologically, but probably even more from the point of view that partly out of fear, partly out of curiosity, partly because of the hype, people are sitting around the table and having conversations saying, we have a problem in this sector, how do we solve it? How do we use blockchains? How do we use other technologies?
So that's interesting, eh? So there we have a technology, and actually what it does, it sort of innovates not so much on the technology, but on the human side, right? On the collaborative side.
Depending on who you speak to, you'll get a different version of events. But I personally think the biggest impact
collaboration
is in making people work together, in collaborating. Yes, the technology is important. Yes, it'll be used. But exactly yet what the best use cases are at this moment is really hard to judge.
Right, excellent, good. That's, I think, a very valuable statement that we need to bring across, because collaboration is essentially, you can't do a distributed governance if there's nobody participating.
Exactly. One of the major issues with blockchain technology is governance. So unless you're using unpermissioned public blockchains like Ethereum, all the interesting use cases involve permissioned blockchains, at which point you have to sit down and say, okay, so who runs this? Who decides who can be a member?
Right.
Who makes those governance decisions, which are important? And those can be achieved. The Dutch have this particularly wonderful polder system of reaching consensus. Well, the polar system gives the Dutch an advantage
because actually
in the blockchain
already
world.
4 years ago, somebody told me, well, you know, blockchain, you want to know what it is? It's the polder system in a programming language.
Exactly.
And I thought, he's right. So I think that makes, that also explains to some extent why we like it so much here and why we're really trying to make it move forward and get it in our work.
I mean, the Dutch ecosystem in blockchain is amazing. Not just in all the startups and the meetups and all that sort of thing, but when you switch on the radio and you hear ordinary radio presenters talking about blockchains and cryptocurrency and all that sort of thing, it's amazing.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well, thank you, Christopher, very much for this time.
My pleasure.
And well, we'll see what happens this year. Thank you.